Hello, I'm Mike Zuckerman. I'm a co-creator at Alight, and I'm really excited to be on this journey with you guys. Over the last 5 years now, I've dedicated my life to really understanding and prototyping in the context of displaced people in the refugee context. I've been to about 100 different refugee camps in many countries around the world. It really is, I see, one of the more important issues of our time. Currently, there's about 80 million displaced people. About a quarter of those have been declared as refugees. The rest are internally displaced. This number has already started to grow exponentially in hockey stick. And some of the predictions are even as high as 1.2 billion displaced people by 2050. My first deployment was in Greece, where I also went to Macedonia and Turkey, and I've also worked in Bangladesh, but my main focus has really been on Uganda. Uganda has been referred to as the most generous country to refugees because they have a very different policy than anywhere else that I've witnessed. First of all, they have an open door policy where they will accept people to cross into their country. Second, they have a settlement policy instead of camps because they know that these are longer term situations for displacement because the countries that people are fleeing from often cannot be returned to anytime soon. They have a right to work policy, which is one of the most important designations for allowing a community of displaced people to actually be self-sufficient. And finally, they also are free to move throughout the country. Many other countries have camps that are set up much more like detention centers. And it's very difficult or impossible to be self-sufficient if you can't move and work. So I'm really advocating for more countries to adopt policies like Uganda and almost see more of the hosting mechanism and philosophy being more akin to a property manager than a nursing home or a prison, which are both much more expensive. So yes, as a property manager, there's still a centralized authority who can, fix certain things and also maintain some of the governance. However, the residents are free to go, they're free to work, they're free to bring their own groceries and cook their own food and have agency and dignity within their life. Uganda hosts the third most refugees in the world. Number one hosting country is Turkey, number two is Pakistan, and number three is Uganda. So it has the most in all of Africa. And in particular, this one camp that I'm really just fallen in love with is Nakivale, a refugee settlement. There are people represented from over 10 different countries, so it really is this kind of Pan-African city. It has different neighborhoods of, like New Congo is where the Congolese are. And then there's New Buja, which is where the Burundians are, named after their capital, Bujumbura. Central Somali, and so each of these neighborhoods has the culture of that country. It has the food, the dress, the language, the people. And so it's really this fascinating place that as an urbanist, as someone who's traveled and worked on projects in many different countries and contexts, I really love the diversity and the promise of Nakivale. I got started in Greece, and the conditions in the refugee camps in Europe were really quite bad. And so when I first was coming to Uganda with Alight to visit refugee settlements, I was preparing for them to be much worse than what was in Europe. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that there's a lot of open land, there's green, there's plants and rain and arable soil. So I really thought, wow, this is possible for people can live here with dignity and self-sufficient. And that's really kind of the goal. Alight has been working in 18 countries around the world, but one of their main places that they prototype and try things out that have started and spread is in Nakivale refugee settlement. On my second day in Nakivale, I was getting toured around, and I saw a house built out of plastic bottles and said, stop. And I got out to find out who made this structure. And it turned out it was a Congolese refugee named Patrick Mavunga. And he had created a community space that he called Opportunity. So that's opportunity plus refugee. And it was actually their opening day when I happened to stumble upon them. And it just stood out. And I learned about what they were looking to do with this space. And it was so similar to what I was actually traveling there to investigate doing. But really, if local people are doing it themselves, it's always better, because you need to find local people to embrace a concept and to feel it's theirs. Otherwise, when you leave, it's done. And so I was so excited to meet Patrick and to find out about Opportunity. And that began a multi-year relationship that I've had with that organization and with Patrick. Patrick is very talented as a community leader, but also as an artist and a designer, and a project manager. He and I have worked together on numerous projects, including an amphitheater, all sorts of alternative building concepts. We've created public spaces, waste management systems, and really, I just can't begin to describe how inspiring Patrick is as someone who is, really embodying the idea of refugee-led work in this humanitarian sector. So he's one of the main reasons that I have kept going back to Nakivale, and I'm so excited for you all to get a chance to meet him and to collaborate with him and to see how he works. The global refugee situation into Uganda, into Nakivale, into Alight's role there, into Opportunity, and into Patrick. And together, we're looking to improve the process by which new arrivals are welcomed and then resettled. So how can people be welcomed in a dignified, respectful, and even possibly joyful way after this really intense displacement event and journey that they've been on? And then how can we set them up from day one to be able to grow and build and start their new lives in a way that is, again, done with dignity and respect and agency, and in a way that they can start their new life on a path towards self-sufficiency. Because again, with the numbers that we're expecting to see of displaced people, the current method, there's not enough funding in the world to deal with it. It's going to require refugee-led participation in their own affairs, and they actually are really good at it.